Start. Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're in the 123 and we're going to start stripping the interiors. Last time we stripped the exteriors, but we found that there were certain areas that needed attention that also touch the interiors. So we have to make sure that nothing catches fire. A little water must have gone in places. We have to make sure it's dry. And it looks like we have to attack the floor as well. We don't want things to catch, to melt and get destroyed. So we're going to remove everything out and then fix the areas that are in between. So we have a place over here on the sides. We'll be able to repair that. We'll be able to repair the part where the heater pipe comes in. So we'll fix that, and hopefully then we can put the car back together. We'll also have to check under the seats and see what the condition is. It looks like the floor is quite flat. I don't think that that's how this car used to come. It probably has some lines to it, but I'm gonna have to check, strip it out and check how it's supposed to be. So we're gonna start off with taking off some stuff. We're probably gonna have to remove this handbrake rod. There's a hex bolt and there's something over here that we'll have to remove. We're probably gonna have to remove the speaker trays. There's a lot of information on the internet on how to do this stuff. Let's see what we have in here. Okay, some parts that were slightly damaged. I've got some replacement parts too. I don't know what that is. Some old coins. Oh, not seen one of these for a while. And we've got these fuses. So I really wish we could change to the normal fuses, but maybe there is some solution online. That's all we have over here. We're probably going to have to remove this lower panel and pull off the dash. So as we remove the dash, we're also going to remove this panel. A lot of the water gets trapped here, a lot of dirt, debris, leaves and things like that over the years have accumulated. So we'll attack this area later on when the dash is off, but for now we're going to separate this part. This part is one panel. We're going to try to make it as as original as possible. So some people will delete this and make it one panel. I haven't found these replacement panels anymore, so it's not really feasible to fix correctly, but we're going to try. This is put on with adhesive over here, but we'll tack weld it when we come back. It comes up like this, and the water drains through a hole over here. So all of that has to be recreated. We get good access to this area, which has opened up into the firewall. So water would go straight into the car from here right now. So what we'll do is chop this off, get access, create a nice channel for the water. And sadly, this part wasn't very well protected with paint and other stuff from the factory. That's why this has deteriorated. So we're going to have to just give it the best coat possible, some epoxy primers and stuff like that. And this will allow the water to flow out when it rains and the car is out. Also over here on the firewall there is a channel and there is a barrier which lets the water fall through and come out over here from this pipe. But sadly that barrier has rusted away, probably because of dirt over years, and it just broke and we don't have that anymore. So the water comes straight into the car. So we'll recreate those two plates, do any repairs that are needed, remove any rust, and also open up this area while I remove the dash. So to get off the dash, we had to remove this glove box. We found some stuff inside. We were able to access other areas. Now we're going to have to remove the cluster. So you slowly have to pull it off. It looks like my cluster was repaired at some point. So when I put it back in, I'm just going to leave it a bit loose and not put it completely in because it might need repairs. So we'll check on that later. But right now we have to take it off. We remove the speedo cable. I'll take pictures of all the wires so I know where they go back. And we'll also be able to see stuff because some are just like there's a ground wire that's just screwed on. We might not know later on, but there are enough pictures online to see this and see the whole process of how to take this off. So we find some bolts over here. Just putting your head in and looking around really helps. But not sure if we'll have to remove the steering wheel. This is something we added on. It's I think a Nardi or something like that. It's an Italian steering wheel that looks a lot like the AMG one. So we're gonna have to take this off probably to remove the dash. We'll have to remove the cluster and slowly pull it off. We'll remove these side panels, hopefully not remove more, but it looks like the floor is quite bad. So we'll have to strip the full front section. I don't think the back is bad. Maybe the floor is bad, but definitely the front seats will have to come off at some point. So first the dashboard, then whatever else we can get to. We've removed this panel. This piece actually is supposed to be, it's supposed to be glued on over here. But I think what we're gonna do this time is make it one piece, make it flush, and try to keep all the designs, but this won't be there anymore. It'll be welded as one piece. Now here is the problem. Under this, we have a problem with the firewall. So we're gonna have to cut this piece by piece. What we could do is do a strip here, then slowly move downwards so that we don't damage the car. We'll start at one end, to be honest. We'll have to start somewhere, make a piece, and slowly build it up in different pieces. So we'll get to the other side, open that up as well, and start with this. So we managed to remove the seats, and it was quite a pain because two of the bolts were jammed. So on the passenger side, they were a bit tough. We tried some tricks. The nuts kept slipping, the bolts kept slipping, so the heads were spoiled. We tried to drill them out, but there wasn't enough access. The drills weren't working, it was hardened. So we had to cut the frames a bit. Now we've cut it with the saber saw that we've got from, we picked up from Bosch. And what happens is this prevents too much of a deeper cut. The cut is minimal, and also it doesn't have any sparks. So we don't have sparks flying around. There isn't much of fire hazard. There is still a fire hazard, but it's not as much as it could have been. So we're fine there. But the sparks weren't flying around, so it was safe, and we were able to cut the frame away. Now we're going to cut away the bolt from here with a grinder, hopefully, and then we're going to take the frame, weld it back, and also repair the seats, free them up, to whatever we have to. Next up, we're going to go through the floor. We're going to scrape it up and make sure all these bits come off and find out where the holes are. So there are holes, as you can see over here, there are holes which we're going to have to clear up, find all the weak points, and repair all of those. Right now, we're clearing up all these rusty patches. I'm going to have to cut this away and replace the piece. But first off, we have to see how bad it is and find out how much has to be replaced. So I'm going to start off with this. This is a wire brush which fits on our angle grinder. We have two types of angle grinders, one's heavier, one's a bit lighter. We use the heavier one for these grinding discs and the sanding discs. This gives us a lot of flexibility. It does wear out, it does vibrate a lot, so we prefer not to use it. But for certain areas where you wanted to go into these grooves and stuff and get into the harder to reach places which are still accessible, we use the wire brush. These are all parts that fit onto the angle grinder. I'll show you all of these. We also have this. It's a grinding disc. It's a little bit heavier, and you can use it to smoothen areas. But it does leave score marks. It does heat up the area more. And sometimes you don't want things to heat up too much. So we try to avoid these. I'm not really into using these. We've got a cutting disc. This is for our bigger machine. So this one is just a cutaway. Hopefully this will keep the sparks to the minimum, but we need to use this as well. And we have the sanding flap disc. So the flap disc, you also get a flat one, flat sanding disc. But the flap disc is good for getting off all this stuff. It's in between using the grinding disc and using the wire brush. but it's the most used actually. I find this the most used, and the cutting blade. And the wire brush, it tends to shoot out the wires, so sometimes it goes into your shirts, into stuff like that. So we avoid using it. It's a bit dangerous. You have to use goggles. But we've picked up this to get into some hard to reach areas like over here. This is an attachment that fits onto the grinder. So we're going to attach it in a bit and show you how it works. And it's quite cool. You want to try it out. You want to see how well it works. But some places where you can't get the machine into, like over here, some places where there's wiring and stuff like that, we're going to try to use this. And let's see how it works. So we've made this little patch to put over here. We've sanded the area. We put rust converter. Rust converter converts the rust to an inert oxide. So we'll be able to put this here. We'll paint it and paint it from the inside also. And we'll have to make a few patches. We'll have to close this gap here. This is a heavier gauge. We'll have to close this gap and slowly build up this level. This is one level. This is a separate level. And then we'll have to patch up the other sides. So we'll start with this patch over here. So we needed to make a template after we cut out all the bad metal. And first we made one patch over here, but then we couldn't get access to the back. What we did was we took this flashlight we got on Amazon. They're between 150 to about 650 rupees. We could put this in the back, shine a light, and we're able to get the outline. And you get red light too, which is a little bit better. So we used that, made a template, made a patch, and fit it over here. We still had to do some trimming. Next up, we're going to remove this spring mount so we can have access to this area below. We found a lot of rust. As we open it further, we find more rust. Over here, we have the battery tray. So this is one of the worst places in the 123 and the 124. Below this, you usually find a lot of rust. So we have to attack this. We're doing this first. As I do some patches on one side and trim, Om is working on the other side. So we'll grind this down, we'll chop this up and attack this as well. I can see a lot in the wheel well that needs to be scraped down and checked. So this is a heavier metal. I'll have to get a heavier gauge and make patches over here. We've got some more rust, and as we scrape the paint away, we're able to find these. So there are certain places that are known to rust. Mostly it's these corners on both sides, and it's because of the drainage. So we're going to patch it up, make sure the water channels correctly, and also put some strong paint on it so we don't have this problem again. And always make sure that we clean the passages. So we'll just open it up, spray over here every time we, in the monsoons periodically. So that will make this a rust-proof car that can drive in the rains. We've got these magnets here, and since I'm working alone, I don't have anyone to hold the cardboard. So what we're going to do is use these magnets to place the cardboard in place. Sadly, this seems to have a little bit of a problem, but if I keep it here, yeah, we have the cardboard in place. Now I can trace it from the other side and make the template. And we have the template. We cut this out, make a piece of metal a little larger and trim it till we reach the right size. We've now put together this piece, and we had to drill a hole in it over here. We had to bend it a bit, so we used our this plier over here. I forget what you call it, to be honest. I think it's a pipe wrench, but I use this because it gives me enough grip on it and enough depth, and I was able to bend it in different ways. So we're going to place it here and weld it in place. There are a few little gaps, so we'll first tack it where the contact is perfect, and then hammer it lightly with a hammer and get the rest of them. We've been working on this for a while, and I've taken a break for a bit, but we're back to it, about a week break. We've replaced this piece over here. This was completely rotten, but as I had to travel, I thought this would be all that we had. We then had to make a piece over here. So after that, it turns out we have to make further more pieces. I've repaired this. The other side also has to be done. We've made templates like we've shown you earlier. And in the meanwhile, while we weren't working on this car, I finally got my DT. So this is a 1980 84 or 85 Yamaha DT. It's got drum brakes, it's got a liquid cooled engine, and it's something I was looking for a while. While bringing it, we realized there was a bit of a fuel leak. Okay, fuel leak. There we go. So there was a bit of a leak and it was falling on the exhaust. So I decided to take this to the market and get it repaired. But sadly, our Nano wasn't working in the morning. So we're going to be repairing that, taking this and getting this repaired. So we'll show you what's happening. It's a bit of a weird problem. So under the seat of the Nano, under the seat of the Nano, we've got something. It's basically like a massive relay that completes the circuit when you turn on the car. And what has happened is, I believe there's an insect that's got inside. So we're going to have to remove that little insect that's fit in right over here, and it's causing a short circuit. So we'll pull that off, clean the area because it's gotten quite dirty, and see if that fixes the car.
No.
Okay, you started. Can you see? Focused?
Yeah, focused.
So this here looks like a silverfish or a cockroach, and it looks like people have been eating in my car, so this is what happens. But that was what was short circuiting and causing the car to malfunction. So this little guy got stuck over there in spite of a little dust cover and everything, and that caused the problem. So we can put the car back together after removing this, and we should be fine. After disconnecting everything, we realized that there was still slightly a damaged contact over here. The contact wasn't perfect. So what we did was we took a spoon, started scraping it a bit. It improved. We used some contact spray, a bit of sandpaper, and now it seems to work fine. There are no sparks anymore. It's working fine. We're now on our way to get the tank of the DT fixed. The tank of the DT had a bit of a petrol leak, as I mentioned, and the best way to get it done was with soldering. So that's something they use to fix radiators and stuff like that. So not too difficult to get done. We're getting that fixed. But as we're on our way, I thought I'd talk about the car we're in. This is the JM Neo, also known as the electric Nano. This was converted. Basically, they took 300 odd ones of them without their engine and without their electricals and all that, and they converted them to electric using forklift components from the US, a few Chinese batteries, and some Indian motors. So it's a full mix and match of a lot of different parts from around, and they put this together. And back then it was something around 9 lakhs where I picked it up. It was probably around 4, as it was a used vehicle. It had a few years on it, even though it wasn't used. I got it with about 1,500 kilometers on it, while now it has 32,000 kilometers. I put most of those on myself. I've used it really rough, through rain, through the harshest of going environments, to be honest. I really abused the car. We put in more than 5 people at a point. There's loads of room on the inside, so I'm really happy with that. It replaces our motorcycles and scooters because for the city runs, it fits in perfectly. It's got an AC which runs. It's a little noisy, the AC, and that's not really a problem because, okay, I'm comfortable. And it's still a car. It's got 4 wheels. It's tightly packed, so it fits through traffic really well. You know, that's something I can't complain about. The way you can drive through little gaps, you can park it in small places. It's got a really tight turning radius, so that's really great. You can turn within no time with this, so that's good. And I really enjoy everything about this car. It had a few niggles as I owned it over the year and a half, to be honest. And it did have a problem with the auxiliary battery, which is a 12-volt battery. The grounds had corroded, so we sanded those up, changed some of the lugs, and we have fixed those up. We put a bit of Vaseline, sanded it, anti-rust, whatever. It works fine. We don't have any problems with the electricals. Then we had a little problem with the charger. The charger blew up. We replaced that. Then we had the little problem with the insect, which we showed you on this episode. That was really odd, but I would say it's not as easy to diagnose as a petrol car at the moment. For us, we can figure out what's wrong. Is there fuel? Is there spark? What's going on? Here it's a bit tricky, so it takes a bit more time for us to figure out. But it's not impossible. It's still a very basic car. It's not like one of those newer electric cars where there's so many reasons for it not to start. Here we know, okay, this error, it might be a temperature sensor. In the case of the other one with us, that seems to be a temperature sensor issue, where we're going to have to pull off the seat, whatever's above the seat, and get to the batteries, solder on new temperature sensors and fix that. But back to the practicality of this vehicle. It's extremely practical. I probably have saved loads of money as well, but back to what makes it great is you got the back folding seat, the dicky opens, and that lets you have access to the back. You can put in a full body kit for the 124 like we do. We're able to transport that. We're able to put in, I think I've put in a sofa, I've put in a table set, put in a few chairs when I buy stuff online. You know, sometimes you're like, okay, I'll get a great deal, buy something off of Facebook Marketplace. Oh, we shoved in an RX 100 in this car at a point. So I'm not sure if I still have those clips, but even that fits in here. So it's really great. It's more practical than it looks. It's just that it was marketed as a car which costs a lakh, and that's what kind of killed its vibe, you know. People think that it's cheap, so you shouldn't have it, but it's tight, it works great, it's a great city runabout. The AC works fine, but it has a little bit of a problem, which at some point I will figure out, but it seems to be the thermostat is kicking in, or the pressure sensor is kicking in at the wrong point. So that is one problem we're having. So another problem is probably the noise. It's not as noisy as people complain. Some people have bought this on my advice, and I'm glad they did. It's a great vehicle, but they're expecting something completely silent. They're expecting that Volvo type of feel. We have an electric car and all you can hear are everything about the car. That's not fair. You can't expect so much from a car like this. It's doing so much for you at such a tight price point. So we have the AC, I'll shut that off, but you can still hear a lot of rattles and stuff like that. Of course, my car has been abused to the limits, so we can expect that. But yeah, right now you can hear this little weird sound. It sounds like electricity passing. That is the motor controller. And you have some other sounds from the fans for the batteries once it warms up. You have some sounds from the transformer for the AC, DC voltage, all that. That makes a bit of noise. The fans are the noisy bit. So if that can be solved, this can be extremely silent, beautiful vehicle. It has air-cooled batteries which aren't liquid-cooled. So that's one of the disadvantages. And it's lithium-ion batteries, not lithium-ion polymer. I have a friend who's converted, I believe he's converted it to lithium-ion polymer. And that has improved the packaging, which let him put more batteries in, because they're tighter batteries, they're smaller. You get the same specs with smaller batteries. So he's able to put more batteries, get more range. I think he's getting about 200 plus. Hopefully he'll put something like that in the market as a conversion kit. So Cochin, better watch out, something cool is coming. But that makes it really practical. I'd love to have this car with more range. Don't really need it. I think that's where the limitation is, but I'm really happy with the car. So anyways, we're on our way to get the tank fixed. Hopefully that solves the problem, and we'll be running the bike a bit for the next few days. So we patched this up. We got some lead put into the tank to avoid it from leaking any further. We're going to have to paint the bike again. We'll slowly restore it over time, keep using it, finding out what's wrong. At the moment, it's not accelerating too well perfectly because of the chain set. It looks like the sprocket over here has worn out. So we're going to have to change that. We have some parts that are a little bad, like this over here needs a repair. This is incorrect. I'll try to correct this by using something else, but we might need to get a new one if possible. But some of these parts need correction, so we're going to work on that. In the meanwhile, we're also going to work on the TD, on the S123, and we still are patching it up. So we've done half of one side. We're going to have to work on the next side and patch up the floor after that. So that's what's going on over there. I hope you enjoyed this episode and enjoyed this new bike, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
No, it will take time.